coffee, get comfortable. We're about to get started. I'm excited to have this conversation with our guest today. You won't want to miss it. Unfortunately, we won't have time to catch every comment, so if there's something very important that you want seen, please consider using a super chat. As always, be respectful. We're glad you're here, and enjoy the show. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to another episode of Saturday Sit Down with myself. I'm Dustin. I've got a guest today. Mr. Chris Long is here with us today. And, we talk a lot about food on this channel: carnivore, keto, low carb, the proper human diet. And for good reason. Food matters, but today's episode, I should say, is a reminder that food is only one piece of the puzzle. I'm joined today by Chris Long from, Meat Life as, Ketogenic Geek. And he and I met back in 2022, Keto Pa Looza. And since we've both been walking our own journeys and trying to improve our health, take control, and build better futures for ourselves, 2 weeks ago, well, Chris will go ahead and kind of jump into that because that's what we're here to talk about. So, Chris, if you want to go ahead and start getting us into what happened or what led up to what happened about 2 weeks ago, and fill everybody in on what's going on.
Hey, thank you for having me today. I know I've met quite a few people here who show up here through Keto Palooza and other events. But what a lot of people don't know my history. When 9 years ago I found keto, I was over 310 pounds and was able to lose about 100 pounds within the year, and I've been immersing myself with all the information I can. So I literally listen to every podcast you can think of, every audiobook, and study and research and talk to thousands of you. And over the years, I was doing really well. I was checking my A1C, I was checking my blood sugar, and you get to a point where 5, 6, 7 years down the road, you're going, hey, I know everything. You think you're invincible. You think that you have everything going on and you understand everything. So it's like I kind of stopped checking what my A1C, checking my blood sugars, and it was up to almost 2 years ago that I did a couple of blood sugar tests, and I actually saw that I had high blood sugar, but I wasn't understanding what it was, and I just chalked it up to something that was stressing me out at that point. And that's the topic of today was stress. Um, but in the last year, I moved to the Atlanta area and trying to get back in the swing of things, trying to get back on my feet. So I decided, like, I got myself a job, full-time job, and then I started doing Uber and Lyft on the days that I wasn't working. So I was putting myself through 12-hour shifts at work 3 and 4 days a week, and then doing almost 12-hour shifts every day that I was not working. And I ended up, doing 7 days a week, and most of the time it was in the middle of the night. So of course I started start drinking more energy drinks, trying to keep awake. I end up, like being so busy that convenience foods started coming into the picture. I was grabbing a slice of pizza, hot dogs, or whatever I could while I was out because there's not very many places that are open and have clean or good food in the middle of the night. And I should have been literally prepping my food you know, um, for later on, you know. But you know, it's been about a year, just a little over a year, and 2 weeks ago on a Sunday night, I we had an issue at work, and we had to scramble and run around and do things. And I was running up and downstairs and running around and carrying heavy objects. And right after that, just before midnight, I had a wave of discomfort. My chest started hurting. I got a wave of pain going through the back of my head and a little bit in my neck, and I wasn't really understanding what was going on. I thought maybe it was I was having an issue that I've had before, and I had to basically go to the in. We have a nurse on site at work, and I went there and said, "Hey, look, my chest is starting to hurt, and my arms are starting to go numb, and I wasn't sure what was going on." He took my blood pressure. He said perfect blood pressure. Heart rate was good, and we sat there for an hour trying to see if it would calm down at all, and almost an hour. And it was about midnight when I walked in there, and we ended up calling 911. The paramedics showed up around 1 o'clock in the morning. They put a bunch of leads on me and straight up said, "You're having a heart attack." Sorry.
Take your time.
That's a sorry. It's a scary moment. I had no idea. And I've already explained to Dustin here that I get very emotional when I talk about this part. But they took me to the local hospital, and I was in a hospital room for probably 5 minutes before they said, "Yeah, we need to put a stent in your next to your heart to open a blockage like immediately, or you're gonna die." But yeah, so I ended up being in the hospital for the last for 4 days after that, and I'm now just kind of on a relax right now, so that my heart can. My heart was weakened because of the heart attack, so I can't go back to work just yet, and I have to make sure that I'm doing okay. Um, I am also having to wear a defibrillator vest. I have a portable defibrillator on me at all times, which has this giant um, battery pack that I have to carry on my side 24 hours a day for the next 3 months. But yeah, basically that's what happened to me.
And well, and you talked about the symptoms you had. You had, some pain in the back of your head. You had, chest pains. Your arms are going numb, and the odd thing is that the on-site nurse kept you there for an hour.
Yeah, we had no idea. He said he'd never seen anything like that before. So he just kept on trying to get me to lie down, to relax, and to, check my blood pressure over and over and over again. And everything seemed to be fine, other than the fact that my chest hurted and my arms were both numb all the way down to my fingertips. Typically in a heart attack, you're gonna see like the left arm is gonna have some pain, but this was completely unusual. But what they found out at the doctor's office was, or at the hospital, was that I had a major blockage, and maybe the exertion that I had at work caused it to shift, and then complete its blockage, I guess. They asked me a lot of times at the hospital. They said, "Would you like to have some pain meds?" And I asked them what kind, And they said fentanyl, and I said, yeah, no, I'm not going to take any fentanyl. Do you have anything that's not so, harsh? And they were like, well, is it because of what you heard about it? And I said, I just don't want fentanyl. I have a history of drug addiction in my family, so I'm like, I don't even want to get anywhere near that, anything like that. And then when they brought me into the catheter lab, which where they put a catheter up in your arm all the way to your heart, and they asked me if I want. They were going to tell. They told me they were going to put me on some medication, pain meds, so that I don't freak out during the surgery. And I asked them what it was, and they said it's fentanyl. And I said, no, I'm not taking any fentanyl. So I ended up going through the whole surgery without any pain meds, and everybody's thinking that's kind of weird. But I mean, there's no pain. It's just you feel the device going up your arm, and they went in right here on my wrist. So it was only like a 10-minute surgery, and I was in and out of there. And um, after that, I started feeling a lot better. And there was the numbness in my arms actually went away. It was quite interesting.
Now, looking back, I mean, were there any signs, any warning signs that you felt like the days, weeks leading up to this?
Actually, there were a couple of instances that were similar to it, but I chalked it up to something else. I've been having more of an intolerance to sucralose, and I've had maltitol in the past make the same reaction to me. What it was gas pain right directly in the middle of my chest, and it was the same spot. But I had overheard the doctor in the cath lab say that it looked like I may have had a heart attack recently, like a minor one. And there was a few times where my chest hurt, but it went away after a day. Like it just was minor pain, and I thought it was more gas pain. And I just said, okay, I'll just deal with it. And there was no other anything that led up to it. I felt great. I was running around. I felt like, like I could go out, and I was actually going to get ready to do like long ass bike rides again. Like I used to. I used to do like 30-mile bike rides a year and a half into doing keto. Like I went from 300 and some pounds not being able to do 5 miles on a bicycle, and then losing the 100 pounds and getting healthier and doing 30-mile bike rides. And I'd found a few places around here that I could go bike riding, and I was about ready to go when the weather got warmer. And I'm feeling I'm feeling like I'm 30 when I'm 53 years old. And the problem with that is that you have no idea that you might be having issues. Most of the diseases that we talk about in keto was, diabetes and cancer and heart disease. Those things build up over years. Cancer doesn't show its ugly head until it's 15 years into its progress, and then when you finally get diagnosed with it, it's like you're stage 3 or 4, which means it's already too late because it's been there for forever. So the heart disease could have been there from before I went keto, and I was able to maintain it for a while because God knows if I didn't get healthier back then, I probably would have been seeing this years ago. And I believe that it's just my stress levels that I put myself through the last year, drinking the energy drinks and running around and doing 12-hour days, almost 7 days a week, most of the time. That is what probably brought it back to this point.
If you'd like, let's maybe do a little bit deeper dive into the stress, because I think stress is one of those things that is brushed off a lot. People don't think that it can have such catastrophic impacts to us. I mean, because you have bad stress, poor sleep.
Personally,
Because you said you've had a lot of things going in the last about 2 years or so, and how would you say that stress has truly impacted you?
Oh, it's definitely the the problem was is I'm having to work 12 hours a day, taking probably an hour to it's half hour drive to work and back. That's another hour of my time, and then like going to the store to buy food that I need. I usually eat what I buy what I eat that day. Cooking, I was not going to bed until I had like only 5 hours left of the day before I had to go back to work again. So I was going to bed at 11 o'clock in the morning and getting up at 5 o'clock to leave for work at 6. So I'm only getting like 5 hours of sleep, sometimes four. But I was feeling great. But that doesn't mean that my stress levels weren't um, really high. It just the studies where they say that if you don't get sleep for just 24 hours, you start showing signs of diabetes. And I'm doing this for a whole year, like just sleeping a few hours a day. It catches up to you. I can say that.
Because you said something to me in a text a couple of weeks ago. You were talking about the A1C that they said that you had.
Yeah, that's the thing. The day after the heart attack, my doctor came up to me and said, "You have an A1C of 9.9," and I was extremely shocked by this because for the last few years, up until the last couple of years of me not tracking, I was from between 5.1 to 5.7, and I I figured I was still doing great because I was still doing carnivore and keto. If for a long time there, if I was going to cheat, my cheats were keto. So I end up a typical night for me was go down to Quick Trip, which is our local convenience store, and I would buy a couple of energy drinks. And those energy drinks, I can't drink them within 4 hours apiece. So I would drink one, and then 4 hours later, I'd drink another one. If I didn't, I would have like headaches. But I would buy that, and I might buy like a Quest cookies, um, anything that's sugar free, and I was doing that on a daily basis. But then there was times where I'm like, I'm hungry, and they have hot dogs, they have those stupid taquitos or whatever, and I started grabbing a few of those when I was hungry after 4 or 5 hours of driving around all night or being at work. I would buy stuff before I even got to work, but grab a slice of pizza or something like that. But like, I think that um, I've probably put myself through a serious amount of stress, which is gonna like elevate your blood sugar. Cortisol elevates your blood sugar, and that's being a consistent thing all day long, every day. And the fact that I'm adding, convenience foods, but I'm still at home eating as close to carnivore as you can get, which is strange because the convenience foods were only when I was out of the house and when I had no time to actually cook or make myself something to go. So I believe that the 9.9 is because I really like probably flooded my system with sugar for the last year, maybe two, from the stress, from the eating raw, the convenience food, and not sleeping very well, not sleeping very well at all.
Yeah, there's a lot of information out there that poor sleep is probably the worst piece that we can and so we can eat as much as we can eat as good as we want. We can do everything right, exercise, but if you aren't getting adequate, meaningful sleep, your cortisol is going to be high and everything else is just going to start to fall apart, really. You know, it is pretty strange well, I guess not really all that strange, but in our culture, we are incentivized or even brag about the fact that I only need 5 hours of sleep. I can run on 4 hours of sleep.
Yeah, yeah. You might be able to get away with it in 20s.
Yeah. and that's and then there goes the inflammation, the unmanaged stress, and your nervous system and all that stuff. Your body always feels like it's in fight or flight, and it's never able to relax, never able to recover. It's always kind of just struggling just to stay afloat.
Yeah. A lot of times I was thinking that on my days off, I would get enough sleep to to make up for the rest of the week. And if I didn't do any work that night, I would sleep for probably about 12 hours, thinking that that'll make up for everything I lost, which that's not how that works. It's kind of, I think one of the problems that most of us have is that we negotiate with ourselves. Like we try to convince ourselves that, oh, it'll be okay if we do this or that, and we negotiate because it was always like, oh yeah, I can eat this. I don't condone anybody who eats something occasionally, but if you have like say an addiction to food, which I know you do, there and I know plenty of people who do. There are some of my friends who can't have a thing that they have an addiction to, or they will spiral. So they have to abstain from it completely. For me, I've never had an addiction. I smoked cigarettes for 14 years, which probably could have been a big factor of
I'd
what.
imagine there was a factor involved with that. Yeah, I smoked for about as long. I smoked until 2010.
Yeah, I just quit one day. I ran out of cigarettes and didn't want to go to the store, so I was like, yeah, I'm done. So like that's addiction for me is not a thing, and I also believed into that when I was like, oh, running around doing all this stuff and the convenience foods were there. I was like, yeah, I can have this or that. It's not going to bother me. I can go right back to eating steak tomorrow and it's not going to bother me. Most people can't afford to do that. But I also shouldn't have been doing it myself. I know better. That's one of the things that's very upsetting is I know better. I shouldn't have been doing what I've been doing. I should have been tracking my progress still with my A1C, with my blood sugar. I should have been going to get a CAC score because if I would have done a CAC score, I would have told me if I was going to have a heart attack or not. It's there's that, and uh, you know, it's you get caught up. The area I live in costs like 4 times the amount of where I used to live in Iowa, so everybody's in a struggle to try to make as much money as they can. So, that's kind of what prompted the whole let's see, I can work on my days off and make as much money as I can so that I can afford everything. That's just, that's hard. I wish things weren't so expensive, or, I wish I would have done better when I was younger and I would probably be better off now, but that's, there's nothing I can do about that now. I just have to deal with what I got and work with what I have.
Yeah, definitely things aren't getting easier. And so, what all? So, did you have any major panels done? Did the doctors come in and go over all of your, any of the
Yeah.
diagnostics, if you will?
Yeah, I guess they did a whole panel of everything on me, and I know that I saw at one point the what do you call that, the what do you call it, the one that does the inflammation, the CRP.
Right.
That was elevated like a lot. Usually they want you to be under a certain point, and I was at like a 9 or 10. I think it's like you're supposed to be at like 2 or 3 or 4, under 4 at least. I think I'm not sure if that's the one or not, but it was pretty high. I had another panel that said it was an enzyme that your body makes from stress. I think it was from stress. I literally posted it to a friend. It says that the norm is at 45, and for me it was at 22,000. And yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was a specific thing that's. I looked into it. I was going, crap. And I can't believe that I was thousands of whatever units above the norm, uh, 20 22,000 units above the norm, which is crazy. But
But I was,
go ahead.
I was going to say, like, we talked about the, the CAC score and such. It's like, I remember Butter Bob. I don't know if you knew who Butter Bob Briggs is, but he had gone in on his channel, the first person I really knew to get a CAC score, and it came back, and it was 19. And I know he was kind of shaken up by it being 19. And then I found out that like there are people out there who have CAC scores in the 5,000s.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I understand how the CIC score is like, if it's between 0 and 100. 0 is ideal, but like 18 is not so bad. If you're closer to 100, that means like you are possibly going to have a heart attack
Well, it's
within the
got to
next
be
10
more
years.
than 100 because there's people out there with like 4, 5, 6,000.
Yeah, yeah. I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
Like their test is usually 1 to 100, but like when you are showing up as like over 100 to 1,000, whatever, that is extremely bad for somebody. That's the calcium buildup around the heart. Calcium is like a wall that they build, that your body builds on the inside of your veins, so that your veins, or not your veins, but your arteries, the larger parts of your heart, the arteries are trying not to collapse on itself because it's so damaged. That's what the calcium's there for, is so that it keeps it open for you. But if you keep doing damage to yourself, it has to keep building onto it and building more and more and more. And that's where the plaque starts happening too, because when you eat when you eat sugar and you have a high glucose in your blood, it oxidizes with like a free radical kind of thing. Everybody's heard of free radicals, but free radicals damage the large, fluffy cholesterol. The cholesterol gets damaged. The liver can't recycle it again, and it tends to like float around in your blood. And as it gets older, it shrinks and gets sticky, and then it ends up sticking to the areas around your heart. um, that's where blockages come from. So it is from sugar damage. It's also from seed oils, causing the inflammation that causes the damage too. So there's two factors: seed oils and sugar. That uh, if we were trying to be healthy at all, get rid of the seed oil. Sugar, just try to minimize it. It's not bad per se, but it's bad in large quantities.
Well, I mean,
And
considering, I was watching a video just the other day, a person who is not in our space, who's in like the, the streamer, tech space, and they were looking at their sugar intake with just one snack. They were
yeah,
saying, like 100 years ago, 200 years ago, the average person had 5 grams of sugar in a day. And then in one snack, he would have a 16-ounce Red Bull. Then and I'm going to paraphrase numbers here, so I don't remember exactly what he said. Is about 60 grams of sugar, 50 grams of sugar. And then he was having like a nerd, like these like little nerd gummy balls that are like with the nerds on the outside. And
yeah,
there were
yeah,
5 servings, and each serving was 20 grams of sugar, and he's eating all five. So there's 150, 160 grams of sugar in just a snack. Where, 200 years ago, we were having 5 grams total for the day. And now our kids, our teenagers, grown adults are having all of this sugar comprise, and it's just right into the bloodstream, like right now, and throws our
yeah,
body in like a hormonal, like just frenzy because you dump that kind of sugar into the body, then you're going to have everything else has got to jump into play. Your pancreas starts kicking out insulin, trying to figure out where to put all that sugar. How's it going to get it on all the cells? All that stuff. So, and then you do that multiple times a day because you understand that most people think that they need to eat 4 to 5 times a day. And then
yeah,
they're not even thinking about the meals. They're not thinking about snacks, what they're mindlessly putting into their body. Then we've got and you touched on the seed oils. Those seed oils are in everything, even if you're not, I mean, it just everything. It's ridiculous. Like, and then, modern society with stress.
yeah.
I mean,
It's a loaded bomb. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it's terrifying.
Before I started keto, when I was 310 plus pounds, I was drinking like 6 Mountain Dews a day. Mountain Dew is like 65 grams of sugar of carbohydrates in a bottle. And your body only can handle 4 grams at a time. Like your body will make what it needs, but if you have anything, it's going to spike your sugar. Yeah, and there's a whole cascade of things. Like your pancreas has to take care of it, but it if you keep doing this over and over again, it will become a roller coaster, and it overcorrects and undercorrects and overcorrects. Like too much insulin, and then too much insulin drives your blood sugar way down, and then you get hungry and you eat more, and it's just like a series of things that happens when you're on a diet like that. But as soon as you start eating whole foods, every single doctor I talked to, I had probably 100 different doctors and nurses come through the ICU for me. Every single one of them just kind of agreed that when I told them I'm on a low carb diet, they're like, "Oh, that's good." I didn't say anything specific because they demonize. There's a lot of demonization of the word keto or the word carnivore, so I just put it as low carb. I eat meat and veggies, and I cut out sugar and processed foods, and everybody was in agreement. So that's great. So I think a lot of the new stuff coming out, like the reversal of the food pyramid, the way things are working, um, with like say Steak and Shake changing their oils from seed oils to a what do you call it? The tallow. So all the French fries are made in tallow now. I think it's a great way of re- changing for the better, but I think it's still not perfect, and it's going to take a while for it to get better. It took years for people to change in the beginning, and I think it's going to take a little time for everybody to change again.
Yeah, do I think that the new guidelines are a step in the right direction? Absolutely. I think there's a lot of major problems with them because we're looking at a guideline that tells us to prioritize meat, but in the same breath, they're telling us to keep saturated fats below 10% of our calorie intake, still
Yeah,
focused on calories, but that's an impossible task to prioritize protein and keep saturated
yeah,
fat below 10%. And then you can touch on things like I have opinions about why Steak and Shake is doing what Steak and Shake is doing. I don't believe there's any goodwill involved in what they're doing at all.
trying to
But
please.
they're playing a political game. And
Yeah,
and if you knew anything about Steak and Shake prior to that announcement, they were all but out of business. So is this a last ditch effort? Hey, where can we get in when we fit in? Probably. But I mean, it's I figure we're seeing the very beginning. I have doubts that even the people that we think are doing things for the right reasons aren't necessarily doing them for the right reasons. But I think with people like us, the people who come into the chats, people who make content, a majority of the people in this community are doing things for the right reasons. And I feel that it's going to take all of us. And, like just exactly what you said when it came to talking to your doctors, I don't think throwing around terms like, or even, throwing up, like the banners that we see so often as I'm carnivore, I'm keto, I'm this. I think that doesn't do us any benefits. And I mean, I'm probably in the minority in that because I know a lot of people really live by their carnivore, whatever, but or keto or vegan. We see that a lot with our food identities. But I think it's going to take all of us, every single one of us, sharing our messages, living by example, answering questions, not being judgmental with anybody who comes into the community, whether they are, because if we look at this and we start talking about, lifestyles and in a broad spectrum such as whole food, single ingredient, keeping carbs low, prioritizing protein. That sounds far less crazy. That sounds far less intimidating than keto, because keto gets a bad rap. Carnivore
Yeah,
gets a bad rap. All of these buzzwords get a bad rap because if keto didn't have a bad rap, then there would still be hundreds of keto branded products in the grocery store, but they just aren't right now. They came,
yeah,
they saturated the market, and then they slowly disappeared. Well, not so slowly. Like you
yeah.
can't like the only thing now you see in the grocery stores that are keto branded anymore really are breads, or maybe some, like they'll have things like bone broth that says keto approved or whatever, but that's like but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I see the same things too. It's like, um, but like I'm going to be going to a health conference in May. It's Meat Stock. This is like their fourth year or something like that. They were doing it as a resort, cabin resort thing up in the mountains in Tennessee. And they this year, the last couple of years, they started having it at a convention center. And I was talking to the owner of that company, of the event, and he said that he's going to be having like 1,300 attendees this year, and that's huge. I've never seen other than Keto Con, which got like close to 5,000 people at one point. I've never seen anything that big out of all the other events I've been to. So I'm going to be seeing all the big speakers. There's 53 different speakers going to be at the event this year. So I'm going to that, and I'm going to be, talking to Ken Berry and Sean Baker and all the other big names out there, so that I'm going to say, hey, this is what happened, so I can get some possible clues, some things I got to do. Uh, But before I go there, in May, I'm going to be working on getting my A1C back from 9.9 down to where it used to be. I have now been given a couple of what do you call the CGMs, so that I can actually start tracking everything I eat. I'm not allowed to wear one yet until I have my first evaluation, which is Monday, because if they put me in an imaging center, I'm not allowed to wear them. So I need to wait until after, and I'm gonna stick one to my arm and start tracking everything I do, and see if I can. My blood sugar's been going down, so it's really good. When I was in the hospital, when they told me my A1C was 9.9, my blood sugar was at 360, and they gave me some insulin while I was in there, and they fed me like horrible hospital food. So I didn't even eat for the first 3 days, because it was just, I didn't either want it, or I would get sick if I actually ate anything. So my blood sugar would go from 270 down to 150, back up to 270, depending on what I ate. And I was just eating whatever they gave me sometimes, because I just needed some calories in me. I didn't care at the moment. So when I got home, I've been eating the way I usually eat, which is mostly carnivore. And my blood sugar before a meal was at, like, say, 150, without eating all day long. And 2 hours after eating a couple of steaks or whatever, I it would go down to 143, which, it's not going up. That's a good thing. Yesterday, I checked my blood sugar again, not eating all day, and it was at 120. No, so like 120 on its own, without having anything, affecting it. So I believe that I'm working on it. I'm getting it to go back down again, and I have an appointment with a diabetic doctor in April 22nd, which, that's the soonest they can see me. So I told him, I said, look, you're going to see, like, my A1C is going to go back down quite a lot before that. I know it's an every 3 month thing, but I'm going to be double checking my A1C as well at home, and making sure that I'm gonna, I keep telling everybody, this is a wake up call for me. And I'm gonna make the change and make it better. I'm gonna prove to the doctor that I have a doctor who believes that you can't just get rid of the diabetes. You don't really get rid of it, but you don't really have it if you don't eat the things that cause it. So, um, it's like alcoholism. And, if you drink alcohol and you become an alcoholic and you stop drinking, you're still an alcoholic, but you're not drinking. So that's I think Ken Berry said the same thing. If I poison you with rat poison and you get sick, and then I stop giving you the rat poison, and you not sick anymore? Do you still have that sickness? And it's just the same thing with diabetes. Just we need to stop eating the crap and start eating healthy again and get my A1C down and prove to them that it can be done.
What are you doing to mitigate stress? Are you doing like are you are you like doing any kind of meditation, or what are you doing to help with your overall stress, especially right now, not working, having, everything that's happened, everything that's happened the last couple of weeks, everything you're going through. I imagine that's brought its own new level of stress. But how are you trying to take back that control?
Well, first off, I'm actually sleeping at night for right now. I've decided that I'm going to back off on doing the extra work on the side. So I'm not going to do Uber or Lyft as much. I still want to do it here and there because it's just easy money to get here and there. Um, but I'm going to stop the energy drinks. That I think is the stress on your body that you don't even realize is happening. The taurine, not the taurine, but the 300 milligrams of caffeine that comes with each energy drink, and you're running around like a madman, um, is just is not healthy. Coffee is a different story, but we're talking about chemically altered, probably not natural, set of ingredients in a drink. When you have a cup of coffee, it's 100 milligrams or 80 to 100 milligrams at least. And with me, I'm drinking 300 all at once, and then 4 hours later, I'm having another 300 milligrams. And caffeine's got like a half life of 4 hours as it is. So you're still kind of buzzed after 4 hours off of the caffeine, and then I'm going ahead and drinking another one. So it's not actually good for you to do that. So like I'm thinking that okay, I'm gonna cut those out. I'm just gonna have to deal with being healthy because caffeine, apparently takes the energy from your future. Like you are pulling your energy from like tomorrow, and then when you wake up the next day, you're even more tired. And so what you do is you drink more caffeine. So um, that was explained to me by somebody at a keto convention. They it was at Keto Palooza actually. Jonathan Chain. He explained that to me. He said that the caffeine is going to rob you of your energy for tomorrow, and you're going to drink some caffeine to reclaim that. It's the same with sleep. I was sleeping 5 hours a day, and then on a day I wasn't going to work, I was sleeping 12 hours and thinking I was going to make up for it. That's not how it works. So, I mean, I'm not against caffeine. I think we can have it in little amounts. Like you can have a couple cups of coffee. That's not bad. You can have like I have these Zevia sodas that have caffeine in them, so I'm not 100% going, yeah, get rid of them, but the I'm not going to be overloading my system over and over and over again.
Because I mean, at that point, then I mean, you're seeing it probably your adrenals, and caffeine begins to not really do much after a while. Like, as I know,
Yeah.
like I'll have my coffee, my morning. This is my morning coffee, and I have one of these almost every single day. And this is probably 500 or 600 milligrams of caffeine right here
Hmm.
because it's espresso. It's espresso,
Okay.
and then later in the day, I'll probably have an energy drink. Usually, they're somewhere between 150 and 200 milligrams of caffeine per can. whether they're Monster or what other brand. I was drinking the C4s for a little while, but they made my
Um,
face tingly, and I figured that was a bad plan.
yeah, my whole body gets tingly from those. Like
But I think that's
pre-workout.
more I think that's the creatine that's in them. I think the
No,
BCCA.
the creatine is not bad for you. I'm actually taking it as a supplement, but there's something in it in C4 that makes my whole body tingle, and I'm like, I don't like this. It's a part of a pre-workout thing.
Mm-hmm. So I'm okay with not having that. I was trying to drink those C4s, but every time I make my face and mouth tingly, I'm like, well, that's probably a really bad plan if I want to continue to hang out here. Um, but I mean, I know I probably have a caffeine problem. I really like coffee. We do keep a couple of jars of the decaf espresso in the house, just in
Hey,
case if I want to have a coffee at night.
mix half and half.
Yeah, there's that too. Um, you know, and I think just trying to make sure that we get enough sleep. And we've got a lot of stress in our house right now. I mean, we've got a brand new grandchild in the house.
Yeah,
And then the kids who live here drive us bananas. So there's that stress. There's good stress, bad stress. And, I mean, and then talking with you really makes me want to make sure I'm trying to really control that because I have seen, my own weight gain
yeah,
and, my inability to keep my food addiction under control in this house, which is something that I've talked about numerous times in my lives because I mean, I do every week, I kind of recap and talk about the issues. And I've even told my kids, I'm like, look, this is like me trying to get clean and then moving into a trap house. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
I mean, that's just the way. I mean, my kids, they come in and they bringing in pizzas and they're going and they're ordering Mexican food and there's always cereals and candies and all these things all over my house all the time. And so what do? I lock myself in my bedroom. I stay up here in my little office cubby and I do whatever I can do to stay away from the food. I mean, I have my salty and I have my coffee and I try to do what I'm supposed to do, but that doesn't mean that I'm successful most of the time because as soon as I
mhm,
walk downstairs, they're making spaghetti with or with garlic bread, or they're making macaroni and cheese, or doing whatever and anything. And I know that, and it isn't an excuse that it's there, so I'm going to eat it. Oh, 100%. But it's also, the deck is stacked against me and the fact that I know that I'm a food addicted person.
yeah,
And I do, and I was so very successful for the first half of my ketogenic journey here because I was able to have full control over what was in my house.
yeah,
We threw everything away, gave stuff away, donated everything. We got rid of everything out of the house. We didn't bring anything in for the kids. The boys, when they lived here initially, before they were adults, we would have, microwave popcorn, some carrots, things that they could snack on so they didn't feel completely left out. But also, it was a time before marketing took over. So there was kind
yeah,
of like a perfect storm for us to be successful. Now it's a perfect storm for us to be unsuccessful because the kids will make macaroni and cheese and they'll make something and they'll pull aside some for Chandra. And then she comes home from work and eats that. And then, well, Chandra had some stuff. So I'm going to eat this. I'm going to have a bowl of cereal and it just kind of feeds on itself. And I'm going to make a dedicated video all about it, I think, because it is something like I went to Tuesday, we didn't do a live, we had a funeral to go to. And I went to put on like a pair of dress pants that I had purchased, and they didn't even fit anymore. They were too small, and they were the ones that I bought because everything else I had was too small. And so I know that there's a stress right there. That's like, okay, well, my fat pants don't even fit anymore.
yeah.
So,
So something came up after I've been talking. I'm heavily into like I have Discord channels where we have nothing but carnivore people, we have nothing but keto people in them, like several thousand in each one of them, and I had explained to somebody, yeah, before I started doing keto, I was over 300 plus, 310 plus pounds. I lost 100 pounds. And when I was talking about how my A1C went up to 9.9, somebody said, how much weight have you gained to cause that to be a 9.9? Okay, that's a very, very interesting question because, like, you think, oh, this person must be obese. I had been floating around 210 to 220 for the last 7 years. Since 2017 is when I started, and I lost 100 pounds. I've been floating around there, which you would think that I gained a lot of weight and that would cause me to be, diabetic or have this heart attack. I've gained 20 pounds. That's it.
Now, where have you
So
gained that weight?
it's mostly in the belly, yes.
Yeah.
But like I'm sitting at 240 right now. It's slowly coming down because I've been changing everything the last couple of weeks, but I'm at 240. You would think that I would have been back up to 300 pounds if I'm like diabetic. It's not necessarily the weight. It's the blood sugar, the stress. That's what this is all about. Is I think it's the stress. It wasn't because I was like gorging on everything and gaining all this weight. And a lot of people were going, well, I thought that weight equaled diabetes, and it's no. There's a lot of people out there that are skinny who don't realize that they're what they call a tofi. And a tofi, thin on the inside, thin on the outside, fat on the in. Yeah, yeah, thin on the outside, fat on the inside. Meaning that your organs are surrounded by the visceral fat that's not good for you. Um, the so like you may be skinny, you may be fat, but you don't know that what your let's see your A1C is or your blood sugar is at the time because for a skinny person they look at the doctor will look at you and go, oh, you look healthy, so I'm not going to do any tests. Somebody who's overweight, they're going to say, oh, let's check your blood sugar or let's check your A1C because yeah, you show that you don't look healthy, but the problem with that is there are people who are overweight that are doing okay. I mean, eventually they probably won't, but it's not the fact that what you look like on the outside. It's how you're doing on the inside, and that's where a lot of people like mess up, and they end up having more problems. Like me, I thought I was doing great. My health felt great. I was running around. I could do things that other people half my age couldn't do at work. I have a coworker who's like 30 years old. He walks around like a slug, and I'm like, okay, but so I'm running around up and down stairs here and there, and everybody's just like, dude, chill out, chill out. And I'm like, well, I got to get my job done. But I'm actually doing stuff, and like, it's like I thought I was in the best health I was in, and then I get a heart attack. So the stress, the not sleeping very much, I wholeheartedly believe is what contributed this to me this time.
That's like, you talk about that, like the tofi, and then there's the whole movement, the healthy at any size. I think, that does us I understand the purpose behind the healthy at any size. We shouldn't be shaming and making fun of people and treating them poorly because they're overweight. But
Yeah,
also, we shouldn't be unrealistic with people because they're overweight. I understand that people want to be included, people want to be treated like anybody else, regardless of their weight. But again, we have to understand that weight isn't necessarily what causes the issue. Whatever your underlying issues are typically are what leads you to be overweight. So if you're going in and your doctor's looking at you and you're 350, 400 pounds and like, well, you seem to be healthy. Everything, you seem to be, healthy at any size or whatever, but what's missing? What are we, what are we not seeing here? We're not
yeah,
asking the question, but why are you 400 pounds?
yeah. Like yeah, we shouldn't be shaming anybody, but that's not healthy. I don't. I agree that it's not healthy to be overweight. I mean, if you were there's some people who can get away with it. Genetically, there's some people who manage it really well. I don't know if you know Gormy. He was 540 pounds at one point,
He was
and
there twice.
yeah, he was there twice, and he brought it down to 200 pounds, and like he doesn't. I don't see him having a heart attack. I don't see him having major complications from it, but he's worked on it really hard, and um, you know, that's the thing. Is like your body could be like, okay, I can make more fat cells to store all this stuff. Yeah, it's not healthy, but it's not gonna kill you right away. And then there's the guy who's super skinny, and like Dave Feldman, he's got hyper cholesterol anemia, and basically his cholesterol's super super high because he has no fat on his body to actually store it. So they're trying to figure out why that's the case. Cholesterol is not inherently bad for you, but like the ideal is around 230 total cholesterol number. But you're looking at triglycerides. If that's too high, that's a bad thing. But like uh, his is like super high.
Mhm.
I remember at one point
No, with both.
I think you're talking about it being 600 at one point. So
Yeah.
so like it's each person's got their own thing. So like that in that case with Dave Feldman, if he was like just eating junk food all day every day and not getting fat and he looks healthy, he could be a diabetic and not even know it. I've seen actually too many people who were skinny tofis who became a type 1 diabetic because for some weird reason they have a different reaction. Uh, I knew a lady who one day she said she was losing a lot of weight and she didn't understand what was going on and her pants wouldn't fit her anymore and she went in and found out she's type 1. And yeah, that's the autoimmune disease. Your body's attacking the pancreas. But I think that could be dangerous for somebody who doesn't know that they're sick and they're eating a lot of sugar, and the sugar can't be, your body's not making any insulin, so it starts creating ketones and glucose in the blood at high levels is very dangerous to a person. So you might look like you're healthy, but you don't know because yeah, I'm skinny. I don't get checked, and that's my big deal is I need to get back on the schedule of checking my A1C, checking my blood sugars, going to do the little things that don't even cost that much money, getting a CGM and just watching what you eat affects you. That's not a lot of people are taking that time to do that. You could be eating something that you've been eating for years, and then when you put a CGM on, it'll show you like in real time how high your blood sugar spikes when you have that item. And it could be a sugar-free item. People still get blood sugar spikes from sugar-free items. It's weird.
Now, here's a question for you. Do you think, and now obviously you haven't started wearing one yet, do you think that a CGM is going to give you an inclination of when you're stressed out? Do you think stress is going to? I have one of those. I have one of them in the cabinet that someone had gifted me, and I just haven't had a chance to put it on or use it or anything. I was wanting to do some stuff with it, but I got to get all my ducks in a row for that, right? But
Yeah,
to the question, I'm curious, do you think that CGMs, if cortisol and, stress, cortisol and all that can spike blood sugar in a lot of people, do you think that there's a good use case for CGMs in controlling stress? Is that even
yeah,
possible?
yes. I would believe so because you have the dawn phenomenon in the morning when you wake up. That is a cortisol spike. Cortisol spike basically is your liver, it's telling your liver to like shoot blood uh, glucose into your blood so that you get the energy to get up and move around. And if you're stressed out, you could have just like your boss yell at you at work, and that causes stress. And I bet you if you like monitored that 24 hours a day and knew exactly when this situation happened, that you probably would see a spike at that moment or within the next 10 to 20 minutes. Um, I just remembered I was driving around in Florida one day and I took a left hand turn with some upcoming traffic was coming up to me, but I was waiting to take a left hand turn and the light was changing to red. And there was one last car that I thought it was going to stop, and I started to take a left hand turn. The guy accelerated to get through the intersection, came real close to hitting me, and I remember for the rest of the day, my heart was hurting, my chest hurt, and I felt like I was just like kind of stunned for a while. That it was kind of an interesting thing. Like I got super close to having an accident, and that spiked my stress level like huge. That my chest started hurting. Who knows? That was 2 years ago. And that could have been like because my heart may have had a possibility of having a heart attack. That it hurt like that. I don't know, but the stress levels alone, I bet you if I had a CGM on it at the time, it would have showed a huge spike. Um, but managing your stress levels, like right now, my blood sugars are sitting around 100, 120 to 150 for no reason. I have I can eat nothing all day long, have no sugar, just water, and my blood sugars are still sitting too high. So there's got to be a reasoning for that, and it's either my body's still insulin resistant, which means I'm going to
You're
be
also recovering from surgery. You're recovering from, a
a
major
major,
cardiac event.
yeah, yeah. Um, like that, but it's been going down slowly. But even like a year ago, when I was in Florida, I checked my blood sugar occasionally, and it would be at 140 for no reason. So I do believe maybe that I was starting to get stressed while I was down there because I was living in Florida. I found out there's not very much work down there compared to what I did in Iowa. So I was struggling with trying to find a job, trying to make enough money because when I moved from Iowa to Florida, I didn't realize there was going to be 4 times the amount to live there and not have a job that paid. I mean, I got a job there and they were like $16 an hour. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I was making $25 an hour in Iowa. That's like ridiculous. And I was doing the same kind of work. So, you can't survive on that down there. So my stress levels started going up probably then when I moved down there.
Cindy says that she's had a CGM for the last 14 days
Yep.
and being stressed with her husband being sick with a broken rib. She said it didn't impact her numbers. She didn't see it in her numbers at all. So I imagine it's going to be, an n equals one thing. I mean, if
It,
especially like if you are, if you're seeing continuous stress and your body's not able to handle that stress and it handles that stress by pumping in sugar, then I mean that may be one reason. But yeah. And she also said that in Brian's case, as a type 1 diabetic in the past, pre keto, when he gets sick, most often his blood sugars go high. With his bout of not feeling well, he has been good. So
well, there's I keep saying that if you're eating healthy, I think your stress level goes down quite a bit because you get those people who are not on a carnivore or keto or low carb diet who are they get upset easily or they get anxious or have depression, whatever. They tend to. I've noticed a lot of people tend to calm down when they start eating correctly. And if there's a book that I have called Adrenal Dominance. And it explains a lot about how when we don't get the right nutrition to our brain starts screaming, and we don't realize it's screaming. It starts saying, "Hey, I need food. I didn't get the right nutrients from that last thing you ate. You probably had like fast food or something. You're not eating any nutrition when you have fast food. So 3 hours into that, your body's going, "Hey, I didn't get what I need." So it sends an adrenaline spike, a signal to your body, and that causes you to have a cortisol spike. and that causes you to have, a rush of glucose in your blood. And he explained it in a way that when you go to bed at night, if you wake up in the middle of the night, your body is basically sending you the signal that it needs the nutrition it needs. And we wake up and not knowing what's going on, and then the hormone in our body that tells us that just to not go to the bathroom in the middle of the night stops working, and then we end up what do you call it, thinking we have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Which if we didn't have this hormone that suppressed our uh, wanting to go to the bathroom, then we would be like waking up all the time, all every few hours. But so when you wake up and that hormone kind of gets turned off, and you're like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom. That's probably why I woke up. It's not really that. It's your brain's signaling to you to like wake up because I need some food. It's an interesting book to read though. I would
Because I would
suggest.
wake up every 2 hours when I wasn't utilizing my CPAP machine. I'd wake up
That
every
is
2 hours, have to go to the bathroom, then I'd lay back down, then I'd be up again 2 hours. Now that I've started using my CPAP machine again, and I got a new mask and such, I sleep through the night.
Yeah, so that you're probably getting proper, oxygen to your brain, so your brain's not going, I'm dying. You need to wake up.
Yeah, and I think that's got to have that's played a part with the cortisol, the stress, how I'm managing stress. There's a lot of that. I think, and that was a big piece of it when in 2016 when I started the keto lifestyle. Like just a couple of months before starting keto, I was in the process of getting a CPAP machine because I knew I had some issues with sleeping and such because I couldn't sit down and watch TV without falling asleep. And so it took a little while for my body to kind of get back into a rhythm where I was like sleeping good. And then I started to lose weight. Obviously, with the ketogenic, even just lowering the carbohydrates like we did when I got the CPAP machine. So I mean, really, I mean, we don't really truly understand how impactful meaningful sleep is because yeah, we can get sleep, but if it's not meaningful, if it's not really, and we're not able to get restful, rejuvenating sleep, then it's kind of just doing our body so much damage.
Yeah, definitely. Like they tell you 7 to 8 hours. That's like the whole me. I can get like 4 hours of sleep and I feel great, but like I bet you like that's not, once in a while that might be sustainable, but not every single day.
No,
Like
no, no. I mean, there's going to be times where you have no control over how much sleep you get, but
yeah, but that's I'm gonna shoot for more like 7 hours because even 7 hours is not is I wouldn't have enough time to do the things I need to do. Like I'm going to be shift. This is another thing. I didn't even think about this yet. When I would get off of work in the mornings, I get off of work at 7:30. I get home 8:15 to 9 o'clock, depends on if I go to the store or not. I would go home and then I'd eat, and then I would go to bed. So there's another factor that I was like passing out or falling asleep right after I ate, and so I'm going to be shifting that to I'm going to go home and I'm going to sleep immediately, and then I'm going to get up a couple hours earlier so that I can get the 7 hours of sleep I can get. I'm going to get up a couple hours earlier to be able to make my dinner and make shower and do everything I need to do before I have to go to work. But I'm going to also split up my meals so I'm not just having one meal a day. I'm going to take uh, food to work with me so that I can split it up so that still within a 8 hour window or 6 hour window, whatever. And instead of just eating one meal a day and just eating like till I'm extremely full, which was it's okay, but that's not sustainable either. Like um, there are things that your body won't do, like you won't absorb all the protein in one meal. You have to kind of space it out and you know allow yourself to absorb stuff for a few hours and then eat again, which a lot of people don't talk about, but it's something I've heard a lot of times over the years. So
Well, I just want to say, thank you for being here, Chris, and thanks for everybody who joined us. I thought that YouTube was broken for a while because we weren't having anybody in the comments at all for like the first half of this program, but I was wondering if there was something wrong with YouTube, but then everybody slowly started coming in. But I just want to say, like truly how important, it is, about full ownership. I mean, we talk about our ownership and we talk about all of this, it's not just the food, it's stress, sleep, how we take care of our nervous system, like how we can we need to take time for ourselves. We need to learn how to rest, truly rest and relax. And I think, that's just one of those huge things that just getting out of fight or flight mode. And I mean, obviously eating well helps manage that along the way.
no,
Um, but again, just Chris, thank you for being, willing to be here and share. Just weeks after your heart attack takes real courage.
yeah,
And I appreciate you being open and vulnerable with us today and, and sharing everything with us. And, hopefully that anybody who watches this in the replay, will take the time and slow down, prioritize sleep, manage their stress, get their labs checked. And,
definitely.
because, I mean, it truly is worth it because, I mean,
It's not expensive.
yeah.
$100 to do a CAC. So if you're curious about an A1C, like you can go to your doctor. That's fine. It's not gonna. It's gonna cost you what, $5, $10 or something like that. You can get labs done. Dave Feldman has his own website called ownyourlabs.com, which gives you
Mhm.
discounts on all these lab tests. But if you don't want to get your doctor involved, like say you want to just be curious about your own health without having to freak your doctor out.
Or you don't even
Go,
have insurance.
yeah, or you don't have insurance. Go down to Walgreens. They have an A1C test you can buy there for $50. You get two tests. They have them on Amazon as well, and you can get up to five tests per box. And what that does is it's a finger prick. So you just prick your finger, you stick it in the machine, and you get within 5 minutes it'll tell you what your A1C is. It's not 100% accurate because even the doctor's offices, they're not 100% accurate, but you can test your blood, and if it seems to be high or if it's whatever it seems to be, you can change your diet for 3 months and then do another test because the A1C just represents how much sugar you've eaten over the last 90 days, and test your blood again in 3 months and see if you've gotten any better. It's simple as that. A lot of people are even afraid to know what it is. And that's the scary part too, is if you're afraid to know what your A1C is there or what your blood sugar is that's gonna be it, like me. I didn't know what it was and I wasn't checking, and now I had a heart attack because of it. So I mean, if I literally bought myself a new Keto Mojo, the glucose and ketone test strip, to test my blood sugar and my ketones. I bought one just at the end of December. I was looking at getting some CGMs. I bought a new scale for the bathroom. It's one of those Hume body pods with the little handlebars so that it does a full body scan. I just bought all this stuff, going, yeah, I'm gonna like start checking myself again and start getting in the groove that I was in before. And I hadn't used it yet. I was getting prepared to do all this stuff, and then bam, I have a heart attack. If I would have started checking myself months prior, I probably would have saw something coming and would have made some changes that might have made it to where I don't have to. Well, wouldn't have had this. I don't know. It's possible.
So, so what's next for you?
Well, for me, like I'm definitely changing my diet back to being a little bit more strict. No more convenience foods. That's no more at all. I'm stopping the energy drinks. I am going to be mindful of my stress levels by sleeping better, sleeping more. and not going to be putting myself. I'm not going to be working 7 days a week. I'm going to be using the CGMs, the blood sugar monitors. The I ordered a blood pressure monitor so I can keep an eye on that too. And I'm gonna do the basics that anybody can do. Um, uh, just minding myself, testing myself to make sure things are going in the right direction. I mean, this is like anybody can just buy a Keto Mojo and keep an eye on their blood sugar. It's not hard. Um, the CGM thing. Okay, this is an interesting thing. I got this for free, and then my doctor. I went to the doctor's office a couple days ago, and they said, "Oh, we have another one we can give you for free." So I got two of them, right? And then he said he's going to put me in for a prescription to get more. Uh, I went down to go pick up that prescription, and it said that for three of them, it's going to cost me $225 with insurance. And I was like, well, that's kind of expensive for me. Like, that's for a month and a half. And I know for a fact that last August, they had made it over the counter now. So you can buy your own CGMs um, without a prescription on Amazon. And they're like $30 to $40 each. And I was like, well, I just go ahead and buy the $30 ones on Amazon instead of getting the prescription. I could save like half the price. So I'm just going to go ahead and start ordering those on Amazon and
There was
continue.
a couple of years ago we ran across a yard sale because we go yard sailing when spring and then fall, and there was a lady. She had a whole big box of those. I'm pretty sure they were the Freestyle Libre threes or whatever, and she was selling them for $20 a piece.
Wow.
Had I known what I mean, I should have bought some, but I was like, I mean, they're all in the box. So, I mean, they were sealed. So, but at the same time, I was like, I didn't know how much they cost. And I was like, that seems like, I'm guessing it's a steal of a deal. But I imagine that as people want them, they'll either one or two things, either they'll come down in price or they'll go up in price.
Yeah, yeah. So anybody can get one now. It's not like you have to convince your insurance company that you necessarily need it. That's the problem. Unless you're on insulin all the time, your insurance company will be like, It's not necessary for you." But if you want to check yourself, that's a good way to do it. You can actually eat an item. Say you eat your whatever you're eating normally, and it will show up within 5 to 20 minutes how much it spikes your blood sugar or not, and you can go, "Hey, that's not really good for me," and try something else. And people don't realize that rice, a lot of the mainstream people in this world think that rice is healthy for you. It's just sugar. It's like just a bunch of carbohydrates. And there's no real nutritional value in it anyway. They strip it all when they bleach it and whatever. So I don't, I know that there's a guy on Instagram who has a CGM and he tests all these foods and he shows how much it spikes his blood, and it's quite interesting to see like what affects you and you don't really know it.
Now, do you have anything you want to share before we get out of here? Anything you want to plug? Anything you want people to come and find you? How can people find you?
Actually TikTok is like where I do a lot of my stuff. So, you see that I'm here as a ketogenic geek, but I'm also on here as Meat Life. It's a t-shirt brand that I've been working on. So, like, if you see me popping on as Meat Life, that's who I am. Uh, but I'm trying. It's extremely hard for me to get online and talk about this situation. Like it was earlier, I will start crying when I try to talk about it. But trying to get out there, I need to push myself to putting out more content. And the ketogenic geek part of this, I'm a geek when it comes to the information. I know a lot of things, and I want to start making videos that explain the little things that people don't know. Like, you know, where does the sugar come if I'm not eating any sugar? It's like your liver makes it. So things like that. I just want to be like the geek who kind of helps inform other people.
Well, again, thank you. And thank you to everybody who was here today watching and anybody who watches the replay. Thanks so very much. And again, thank you, Chris, for being here. And let's go ahead and hit those credits. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.